Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Poker Vlog. It is Friday, November the 17th. It's 5:23 in the PM. We are back at South Point, and we're going to jump into the 2-3 no-limit streets and see if we can't continue to run it up. I'm going to skip the long intro this time. We're going to jump right into the poker hands. Let's get it. Jumping right into the action, the very first hand we are dealt in, pocket jacks in the big blind. Better yet, we see a raise from the cutoff who makes it 12. Small blind decides to put in the call, and I think I have a mandatory 3-bet here. I make it 40 to go. Cutoff thinks 40 is a pretty fair price. He puts in the call. Small blind thinks because the cutoff calls, he should call as well. So he puts in the call, and we are going to go multi-way here in a 3-bet pot. Stuck in between two opponents. Not an ideal position to be in. And even worse, we see a flop of king, queen, 8, all clubs. Not the best flop for our exact hand. Although I think this board does connect pretty well with our 3-bet range. We're going to have all the aces, all the kings, all the queens, ace-king, ace-queen suited, king-queen suited, all the strong hands that do connect with this board. So I decide to continue showing strength here. I make it 50 to go. Not sure this is the best continuation bet, considering we are multi-way and someone could easily have the ace of clubs here or the jack of clubs. But it does get the job done. Both players do eventually let their cards go. I jokingly show the jacks because they are running a promotion where if you flop a set or if you flop quads, you get paid out. And I never hit, so I always jokingly show so everyone can get a laugh that the jack never shows up when you need it. All right, this is an interesting one. We've got ace-queen off suit in middle position. I raise it up to 10. I go a little bit smaller here just because the table had been playing a bit tight, trying to induce a little action. Action is indeed what we get when we see the small blind and big blind call and a flop comes down, queen, 7, deuce, rainbow, giving us top pair, top kicker. So when both players check, I'm going to continuation bet here and I make it 20 to go. Trying to get value from hands like king, queen, queen, jack, queen, 10. You get the idea. Small blind folds, big blind calls, and we see a pretty safe turn card. 6 of diamonds does bring in the backdoor flush, but shouldn't change too much. Big blind checks, and I think I have a clear bet here. I think our hand can definitely get another street of value, and then we can decide what we want to do on the river depending on the run out. We see the 9 of diamonds peel off on the river after the big blind calls our $40 bet. And here is where this hand gets interesting. Now the player in the big blind tanks and decides to put out a large bet here on this river. He makes it $140 to go, which is basically a pot-sized bet. Pretty polarized bet, and now I'm not feeling too good about our hand. So my thought process here is I'm trying to put him on a hand that would do this as a bluff. Would he turn a hand like pocket 8s into a bluff here? Or would he turn a hand like pocket 4s or pocket 5s into a bluff? Is this player even capable of doing that, taking that type of a line on this board? I don't know. I've not played with this player. I don't have any history there. So I'm having a hard time finding hands that are bluffing here. I think mostly this is going to be value. He could even have a hand like queen 9 suited here that rivered 2 pair and maybe take this line, putting me on a hand like the one that we have, or king queen or queen jack. So I'm just not sure exactly what to do in this spot. Do you just close your eyes and call? Do you randomize and maybe call 50% of the time and fold the other 50% of the time? I don't know. It's not clear to me, but maybe you guys could leave some feedback in the comments below and let me know what you would do here in this spot. I will tell you what we decide to do in this situation. After much tanking, I just can't find many bluffs that he would do this with. So I decide to let my cards go and I send them into the muck. And unfortunately, we end up losing this pot. This is going to be a session with some tough river decisions. I am in the big blind with ace 10 of diamonds. The $6 under the gun straddle is on. Everyone decides to fold. No one calls the $6 straddle. I think ace 10 of diamonds is certainly strong enough to merit a raise here, so I bump it up. I go $20 pre-flop. $6 under the gun straddle doesn't think too long before clicking the call button, and we are going to go heads up to a flop here, which comes down queen 8-6 with one diamond. We do got a backdoor flush draw, but not much else going on for our hand, so I think a bet is in order here to try to take this pot down now if we can. I fire out for 25, and again the straddler pretty much snap calls this bet, and we are off to a turn card, which is not my favorite card in the deck. It's the 8 of spades pairing the board. I think I'm going to slow down and check on this card. I think the straddler is going to have a lot of 8x combos in his range that would call here on the flop. Thankfully, the straddler does decide to check back as well, so we go off to a river, the 9 of spades. Now I think this opens the door for me to potentially bluff. I can certainly have some strong hands that I can represent here, but I can also get the straddler off of any middling pocket pairs that are being sticky. So I make it 65 to go, and the straddler tanks for about maybe 15 seconds or so here before unfortunately announcing a raise to $225. Not much I think we can do here other than fold, but unfortunately he proudly shows us the 8-3 of clubs for the bluff. Good hand, sir. Good hand. Things have not been going great for us. Let's see if we can turn it around in this hand with queen, jack of spades in the cutoff. It ends up folding around to the low jack who limps, and then the hijack limps as well. We are going to be raising this up to isolate these weak ranges. I make it 15 to go. Everyone gets out of the way, so it's back over to the low jack who puts in the call, and the hijack puts in the call. So as is often the case, we are going multi-way to a flop, which is pretty much a dream flop for our exact hand, ace 4-7 with 2 spades. When both players check it to me, I'm definitely going to be building a pot here. I make it 20 to go. Low jack quickly gets out of the way. Hijack quickly puts in the call, and we turn a pair with the jack of clubs. Hijack checks, and I decide to check back here. Now I have some showdown value. I don't mind recognizing my equity if we hit a spade on the river. Hijack leads out on the 8 of hearts for $45, and I think we have a pretty easy call here. I go ahead and flick it in, and we get shown the bad news when the hijack turns over the 8-7 of spades. Come on, dealer. One time, could you put a spade out there? Flush over flush would have definitely helped us turn things around in this session. All right, these suited and non-suited Broadway holdings have not been working out for us, so let's see if we can get a pocket pair to do the trick. I've got pocket 9s. I raise it up to 15. We get a call from the button and a call from the small blind, and we see top set on a 9-8-7 board with 2 clubs. A very wet, a very connected board. And the small blind donk bets for $30 on this flop. Definitely need to be putting in the raise here. Not going to be allowing any free cards. I make it $100 to go. Back over to the button, who is now going to go into the tank for a bit. If someone has Jack 10 here, so be it, but I am not going anywhere no matter what happens on this flop. We're going to try to get all the money in and try to recognize our equity. Hopefully someone has a hand like a straight draw or a flush draw and they want to play for all of it. But the button folds and it's back over to the small blind who does put in the call. So we are going to go off to a turn. I'm hoping for a clean turn, and that is exactly what we get when we see the 3 of diamonds. A pretty much blank here on the turn. Small blind thinks and then decides to put in the check. I've got maybe a little more than a pot size bet left, 350-ish to 400-ish dollars. So I go ahead and rip it in. Again, I'm not going to be allowing any free cards here on this board. Now it's over to the small blind, who doesn't take too long before thinking that folding is the best option. So we don't get any more value here with our top set, but I'm pretty happy with the way that I played this. Given the run out and the board texture, I don't think I want to slow play in this spot, and we end up taking down a nice pot here with top set. We get upgraded in this next hand to pocket aces. Always a pleasant surprise when you look down at 2 black aces in your hole card. So in early position, I make it 15 to go, and surprisingly everyone folds except for the cutoff, who puts in the call. And we are going to actually go heads up here to a flop. Flop is actually going to cooperate with us as well, as we get a good board, maybe even a little too good when we see ace, 6, queen with 2 hearts. I fire out a continuation bet here, being out of position. I don't think slow playing this is a great option, but unfortunately the cutoff quickly folds. Maybe a check would have been a better play there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if slow playing has some merit in that spot when you flop top set with pocket aces. I know it's going to be hard for the opponent to have much, but I also think with the flush draw and a potential straight draw out there, betting can't be too bad of a decision. I think I need to make a sticky note or put a piece of string on my finger to remind me to stick to my 3-betting range. We see a raise of $10 under the gun and a middle position call. I had been telling myself in my head to 3-bet, but I end up just calling. Total leak in my game, and the big blind calls as well. So we go multi-way to a flop of king 4-5 with 2 hearts. Everyone checks on the flop, and we see the 7 of diamonds on the turn. Now the big blind checks, and it's over to the original raiser, who counts out a bet of $30 on this turn. I think he can be doing this with a lot of holdings, maybe some semi-bluffs, maybe some king X hands, but I think our hand is too under-repped to just fold at this point, so I decide to go ahead and put in the call. And we're going to continue on here. When the small blind gets out of the way, the big blind is going to go ahead and call for $30. And we are going to be off to a river here, which is probably one of the worst cards in the deck. We end up seeing the 3 of hearts peel off here on the river, making the board even more connected, completing the front door flush, and now the big blind, probably the most likely player to have a flush, decides to lead out here on the river, and everyone quickly gets out of the way, and we lose this hand. All right, we started the session with pocket jacks, so it's fitting that we would end the session with pocket jacks. At this time, I try to get a little bit tricky in the big blind with pocket jacks. We see a raise in middle position to $10, and the button decides to just call the $10. So I decide to go ahead and flick in the call here as well. I think normally I would be raising this up, but for whatever reason, I decided to just go ahead and call, and we're going to end up going 3 ways here to a flop, and we're going to be out of position. 9-8-5 with 2 hearts. I go ahead and put in the check. The original raiser checks, and now the button decides to fire out here for $30. I feel like he could be doing this with hands like ace-9 or king-9 or maybe even 10-9, hands that we're definitely ahead of. So the question is, do I want to raise, or do I want to just continue to under-rep my hand? I decide on the latter, and I just put in the call. Although looking at the board, I think we should probably be putting in a raise here more often than not. Going to the turn, it pairs the board. It is the 9 of spades. Now any of those 9x hands that I mentioned before are beating us, so I check. And he quickly checks back as well, and we see the 8 of diamonds on the river. Not feeling great about my exact hand here on this run out. I check, and he checks back and shows us 2 red aces. So We ended up dodging a bullet there. Had we connected with that flop a bit better, though, we would have ended up getting a big pot off of this gentleman's just call with his pocket aces. All right, that is going to do it for this one. I'm recording this the day after on Saturday morning. We ended up in the game for $760, and we cashed out for $715. So a small loss of $45. Basically, we played break-even poker throughout the night, which I still think I'm playing a little bit scared money and being a little too passive and nitty in some spots. So I have to continue to work on that. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the hands. Real quick album recommendation for this week for those who are interested. I am recommending this album right here, which is Hiroshi Suzuki. The name of the album is Cat. It is funky, soulful Japanese jazz. And it is jazz, so please, if you don't like jazz, don't go in the comments telling me what a horrible album it is because you hate jazz. It's jazz, guys. So just know, if you're going to listen to it, that's what you're getting yourself into. But I love this record. It's a very kind of underground record that's known in jazz circles, but not too much outside of that. It's phenomenal. As I mentioned, it's funky, it's soulful, it's groovy. It hits all the right pieces. It's got like a very 1970s funky vibe to it. I dig it. I hope you enjoy it. And here I'll get a close-up of the record just so you guys can see it a little better. There you go, Hiroshi Suzuki, Cat. He's a trombonist. This is a reissue on vinyl. Originals are very expensive and hard to find. If you're interested in getting the reissue, it's very affordable and it's very good quality, so I would recommend it. But otherwise, you can find it on all of your friendly streaming platforms. All right, so I hope you enjoy the record. I hope you enjoy the hands. If you did, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. We're sitting at about 940 subscribers right now, and I'm pushing to 1,000 subscribers by the end of November, so I appreciate all your support. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. I will see you all in the next episode. Until then, be well and good luck at the tables.